Is finding your dream career feeling impossible right now? You're not alone. Welcome to Career Blueprint, the podcast that helps you figure out your next career move. We explore the trends in tech shaking up the job market, giving you the unfiltered advice you need, whether you're starting out, changing direction, or guiding someone else. Let's figure out what's next for you together. This is Career Blueprint. So what's different today? How is AI changing things? What's different is how AI is being partnered with these existing software programs to replace many of the steps that have been done by humans for decades. Now, tax preparation software has historically been pretty simple. The main technological advantage of using the software was that it automated the math in a tax return. A tax return is essentially a mathematical equation. The hard part was getting the right numbers in the right boxes in the software. The software would then do the math for you. It would add up your income, calculate your deductions, and determine a final amount you owed. But the software required a lot of human intervention to work. Someone, whether you did it yourself or you paid someone to do it, had to find the right numbers in all those darn tax forms and type them into the right boxes in the software for the software to work. So there was a lot of manual data entry. Tax preparation software also traditionally struggled with anything out of the ordinary. Many filers who used the software still needed a human to answer questions, interpret documents, and double-check that everything was entered correctly. In other words, tax pros were pretty crucial for navigating complexities and sorting out the confusion that software just couldn't handle. Now, AI is eliminating a lot, not all, but a lot of the manual data entry. And increasingly, it's starting to provide the answers to your questions instead of a human. So let's break down the 3 ways AI is being embedded in tax preparation software today. First, we're going to start with the easy one. Let's talk about how AI is being used with something called optical character recognition, or OCR. OCR is a technology that's been around for almost 50 years. It's how computers read a document. It allows a computer to identify numbers and characters and convert them into a machine-readable format, which is basically the language of computers. OCR is part of our everyday life. If you use your phone to read a restaurant menu using a QR code, you're using OCR. Last time you filled out an online credit card application or apartment rental agreement, you used OCR. Your toll tag is powered by OCR. So this is really well-established technology. Now, artificial intelligence is helping OCR be better at what it does. It's helping it read more complex documents in the past. It can now read things like videos, words in a blurry photo, a person's handwriting or signature. Now, all of this is great, but it's not the game changer. What's really new and different is how this advanced OCR is now being paired with something called Intelligent Document Processing, or IDP. So what is Intelligent Document Processing? When OCR converts words and numbers into computer language, IDP reads that language using a mix of machine learning and natural language processing. We talked about both those types of AI, machine learning and natural language processing in our first episode together, but just a quick refresher. Machine learning is a branch of AI that uses algorithms and large amounts of data and statistics to help computers recognize patterns and make decisions or predictions. It's called machine learning because the computer learns from its experience and adjusts its work as it learns new things. And natural language processing is a type of AI that gives computers the ability to understand and process human language. It's what powers chatbots and Alexa and Siri. Now, back to IDP. What is it? Intelligent data processing is like having a super fast personal assistant. It can read and sort documents, and it can identify specific information on a page and transfer that information onto another page or even into another software program. And it does all of that super fast. Let me give an example and explain what I mean. IDP can read a document and immediately determine what it is. It can tell, hey, this is a Form W-2, not a 1099. It can find and extract important details like the name and address of a business on an invoice or the amount of sales tax on a receipt. It doesn't matter if the information's in small font, if it's buried in the middle of the page, even if it looks a little different on each page. IDP can locate exactly what's needed, and once it has that information, it can then use it to pre-populate other forms. Think about that for a second. If OCR and IDP can read your documents, find and extract relevant data from those documents, and then use that data to pre-populate forms, it can, theoretically, if it works as promised, complete your tax returns for you. In this theoretical world, you can upload your financial documents into a software program, push a button, and it will give you a completed tax return without any human intervention. Sounds awesome and a bit scary, right? Now, the reality isn't quite there yet for all taxpayers, but we're getting pretty darn close. Today, AI is good at straightforward document sorting and data identification. For example, it can quickly and accurately find someone's wages on their Form W-2, which is a very common tax form. AI is also pretty good at basic workflow automation. For example, it can use the wages it just found on that Form W-2 and pre-populate an IRS Form 1040 with that wage information. But when you get beyond the common, straightforward tax documents, AI can struggle with document processing accuracy. It can't always read and understand unstructured documents, for example, a partially filled out form or a blurry, crumpled receipt, and it can miss context retrieval. For example, it may not understand why a tax document is important in the first place. So, what does this mean for you? It means that if you have a simple tax return, maybe you have one source of income and you use the standard deduction and you don't have any credits or schedules or adjustments, OCR and IDP AI technology can probably prepare your tax return for you. And this is about a third of Americans. But if you have some complexities in your tax return, maybe you're a freelancer or gig worker, or you have a rental property, or maybe you're active duty military and you move a lot, or you own a business, OCR and IDP technology are only going to be able to take you so far. And chances are you're going to have to ask some questions and need some help. So let's talk about how AI tax preparation software is handling questions and non-standard issues. And yes, it's time to talk about the dreaded chatbot. First, a quick clarification. A chatbot and a virtual agent aren't technically the same thing, although people are using those terms interchangeably these days. A chatbot is a software program that is designed to simulate human conversation, usually through text, but sometimes through voice. Chatbots follow simple rules. They recognize keywords in your question and then respond with pre-written answers. They're best at handling straightforward, repetitive questions and tasks like answering common questions or guiding user through basic steps. For example, a great question for a chatbot is, what are the opening hours for a store? Many chatbots do not use AI, so they can get stuck if you ask them something unexpected. They'll just give you a default response or point you to an FAQ. This is why so many of us hate chatbots. Now, a virtual agent is a more sophisticated version of a chatbot that uses AI. Virtual agents use natural language processing AI to try to understand the meaning and intent of what you're asking, even if you don't phrase it correctly. They can carry on more natural, context-aware conversations. Consumer tax software companies started rolling out basic chatbots around 2020, but the early versions were not especially sophisticated. And we all have stories about trying to work with those early versions of different chatbots. They're just awful. But each year, they're getting better. And by 2025, virtual agents and tax preparation software started handling a much higher volume of questions. They're pretty good at handling questions on deadlines, basic filing procedures, terminology like what is a dependent or exemption. But they're still not great at complex questions or providing strategic advice. Now, everything I've talked about is how the software is supposed to work, but I knew I needed to understand the actual user experience before speaking with you. Understanding exactly what the software can do today is an important part of predicting how jobs are going to be impacted in the next 2, 3, 5, 7 years. So I decided to try out AI-enabled tax preparation software. I wanted to see if it lived up to its hype. Now, before I tell you my thoughts, I need to confess. I've been using an accountant to do my taxes for years, and I really don't need to. My taxes just aren't that complicated. But I really hate the process of looking through all your financial information and filling in all the little boxes on the tax form. It's just painful. So I've been paying someone else to do it for years. The first thing I had to do was research the available consumer tax preparation software programs, and I had to find a program that had advanced AI features. I then gathered all my paper financial documents and scanned them into PDFs. Unfortunately, there's not an AI program that's eliminated this step yet. You still have to gather all your own documents and convert everything into digital files. I then opened the software and started the process of transferring my scanned documents to the computer. Now, the first AI-related change I saw was that you can now upload documents using pictures, not just scanned documents. This is super helpful. Most of us don't have a scanner in our house, but we all have a smartphone. So the AI-powered advanced OCR technology is a good add. After I uploaded my paperwork, the software quickly read my documents and it recognized most of them. Now, I uploaded over 1 inch of documents. It was a lot. I waited maybe a minute, and then the software started filling in my tax return automatically. My wages from my W-2 appeared in the right spot. Interest and dividends from a 1099 showed up in another. I had a ton of business receipts for deductions, and it was able to handle most of them. At one point, the software had trouble reading one of my receipts. It was pretty crumpled and faded. It might have been in my backpack for a while. The software highlighted the receipt and asked me to double-check what it said. Throughout the process, the software was in charge. It went through every step of processing my return and asked me simple yes or no or fill-in-the-blank questions as a check. And it did about 30 to 40% of the tedious, repetitive data entry work for me. Now, it wasn't a seamless process. I didn't just upload my documents and my tax return appeared. There were some questions from the software along the way, but not nearly as many as I feared. So the OCR and IDP technology did help with the more straightforward tasks in preparing a tax return, but it got a little lost on some complexities. And when I had a question, software just wasn't great. I had some questions of whether some business receipts were deductible, and when I asked the virtual agent for help, it didn't really help. I was looking for a yes or no answer, but instead the software just quoted the IRS rule back to me, which required me to figure out how the rule applied. I could have gotten the same information from just looking at the internet. So the virtual agent didn't really add any value, and overall, it was an okay experience. I can see how AI is improving the tax preparation process for somebody with a straightforward tax return, but for people whose taxes are a bit more complicated, they're probably going to still want to use a tax service with human help and supervision.